Dear Lord, we're thankful that we're able to be here this Sabbath and as we talk about children and the gospel and its impact on the rest of their lives. Give us wisdom, give us understanding. And we pray that your Holy Spirit would be present with us as we ask questions and as we hopefully answer them. And we'd also pray for those that are on their way here. Keep them safe and protected.
Amen.
I did say amen.
I can say it.
Okay, so for those that have not been here at the early session, at the beginning, you get to pick the questions that were on your mind about the week. So anything that was on your mind, now it's the opportunity to ask. 2 questions usually is what we solicit. So I will give people that are not voting or have never asked it before the opportunity first. If there's anything on your mind about the lesson, a question that you wanted to ask, now's your chance. And if it's no one's speaking up, so the floor is open to anybody that wants to ask a question. Anyone want to ask a question about this week's lesson?
Well, this second question on Friday,
Friday?
How can today's church organize to become more Christian-like in its appeal to children? Which may personally do to be friendlier toward youth. So not just children, but youth, who may experiment with bizarre fashions, unusual musical taste, and sometimes outlandish behavior. How can the church become more energetic, attracting active youth? How do you
Okay, that's question one.
attract active youth?
Basically, what can we do different, assuming that we're doing something, that we need to do something? Question 2. Anybody else have a second question? If not, then I have a couple. The first one was on Sabbath, where it talked about, it says the majority of Christians have committed their life to Christ at a relatively young age. Fewer converts come from the older populace. So that's a statement of fact, and I don't think it's debatable. But if you look at the outreach activities of the church, I would say 90-something% of it is geared towards adults, and a small percentage is geared towards kids. So how do we correlate the fact that if people are going to stay in the church, they get converted early, with the fact that the majority of our outreach is to people who, according to this, are not likely to make a difference?
That's the same question.
It's different. It's different.
How can the church?
You're asking how can it? I'm asking why is it that our efforts are directed at like this lesson made a statement that the majority of the people that you try to outreach after they're adults are not going to change.
So your question goes first then, because in the statement, why, you have to answer why, and then how to change the why.
My brother's got his
Your
hand
question
raised.
kind of ties into question 1 on Friday, too.
Question 1.
Yeah.
Okay, and number 1 is why do people accept Christ when they're younger? Okay. So let's just introduce yourselves, and I promise I'll let you speak first. My name is Linda.
Raphael.
Maria. Jennifer.
David.
Lincoln.
Ben.
Too many David. Okay, David number 2 and 3.
I was gonna say the reason why is I think personally the church reaches out more to adults is because it's easier. Just the whole segment of how you reach a 13-year-old versus a 20-year-old versus a 30-year-old is different. So reaching out to an older adult, I think it's a little bit more general, and I think they're less afraid to approach them. Some kids are just rebellious. I mean, to answer like the second question, the reason why just like you don't reach out because it can be tough. You don't know what to say. You don't want to offend them. You don't want to run them away further than they've already gone. Because I was thinking about how I was, outside the church. What could you tell me to bring me inside?
So So you had left the church at one point?
No, I'm just saying in my
Oh,
head, like,
okay.
asking myself the question, what could somebody possibly tell me that make me injured? They would have to show me love, like, I guess, first of all, unconditionally first, because if I don't trust you, that's it's already a touchy subject. So if I can't trust you, then I'm already ruined.
When I look at it, you reach out to the adults, bring them in church, but what do we do to keep the children in the church, the transition from pre-teen, teen into young adults? What do we have other than Pathfinders? What do we have to keep these kids, focused or get more information, or are they the future leader of the church? What do we do to transition into that part of adult, or the pre and young after teens? So, it's something that we say, well, it's hard to relate to teenagers. We need to find a way to relate to teenagers.
Well, I think our experience with Daniel, the reason we came to this church was because there was a program there with Mr. Dean, no longer here, that was very much geared to children, and it was fun, and we found fun here. The problem is we don't let them be children, and even the young adults. The traditional approach of the church is to curtail that, not let them be young adults. For example, Daniel has a friend who's an Orthodox Jew. He chose that from when he was a youth, even against his parents, and he's an Orthodox Jew. Nevertheless, in that Orthodox synagogue in New York City, the rabbi runs a dating service. So he finds...
But hold on, so for those that don't know, Danny's friend is an ultra-Orthodox Jew.
Ultra-Orthodox.
I mean, he's got 2 fridges, one for the milk, one for everything else. Gentile can't touch certain things in the house. So to me, that's not the definition of fun. I mean, it's... I know he chose that, but I think we were talking about we don't make it fun. Well, he obviously went down a path that the world would not classify as fun. Now, I think maybe he saw the fact that these people stood for something, right? Because it definitely wasn't fun.
That's spontaneous. No one...
Yeah, but he's been doing this for a long time now, right?
Maybe he had other problems. He was trying to hide from the social environment because he had difficulties socially, maybe with girls. Who knows? But in general, most children are not like that. And most children need to be approached letting them, allowing them to be children. And the young adult is the same. I don't know what we teach. I don't think I've ever heard anything in the Seventh-day Adventist Church concerning the approach to dating. But that rabbi was really focused and in charge of all the young people there, even from other synagogues, coordinating the date. It doesn't mean promiscuity, it just means meeting, going out for a predetermined amount of time, so many times supervised, and then like 20 minutes unsupervised, the converse. It is a procedure, but we don't have that. We just confuse them, and maybe they think they can't date. That's for the young adult, and the children, they cannot jump on the Sabbath and skip. That's why I'm serious. That's why we came to this church, because that skipping problem on the Sabbath was not here. And you don't believe it, that church? If they won't, you can't skip and stop on the Sabbath, you know what I'm saying? So, and that way, I see a problem there.
I actually agree with him to some extent, and I feel like the church, well, at least definitely for me, I feel like instead of talking about things, we just don't talk about it and hope you grow up thinking the right way. So instead, it's funny. The church organizing dating would probably be better than you doing it yourself. At least you think of some kind of standard that goes along with dating, as opposed to you going out there and creating your own standard. But definitely, like you said, sometimes you're like, what am I allowed to do on Saturday? If I, just like he said, well, some people, they look at it different. If I go walk on the beach on Saturday, some people say I'm with nature and that's okay. Other people say, how can you go walk on the beach on Saturday? And it's like, where's this line?
So you're getting it from both sides, basically.
You're kind of confused as to, you know, what should you be doing? Is it okay to just, what is?
So
These are children without parents or with parents?
Well, even people with parents, because even a lot of people in church don't know. I guarantee if we polled half of this room, half would probably say it's okay to maybe walk on the beach on Saturday, and another half would probably say no.
So for those that popped in and wondering what you just walked into, we are asking, number one, the first question was on Sabbath, where it talked about the fact that the majority of people that are Christians remained in the church, joined the church when they were young. And for those that basically, once you reach past a certain age, I think it's 18, 20, pretty much people don't change. They're pretty much set in their ways. I mean, there's always exceptions, but by and large, the majority of people that are in church now, the majority of people in this room now, for one reason or another, met somebody, interacted with somebody when they were younger, okay? And so my question was, given that the most effective outreach appears to be when people are younger, why do we focus the majority of our efforts on reaching the people that are not likely to change, right? That's question number one. Question number two, Raphael basically asked, well, what can the church do to be more, quote unquote, youth, kid / young adult friendly so that they will continue to stay in the church? And then Dave asked the one on Friday, which was, why is it that people tend to stay in the church if they accept Christ when they're young? Right, so let's wrap up number one and then we can move on. Does anybody else have questions about why do we focus on people that are less likely to respond, given that fact that
That may not be a reason why, but I think that focus is changing. What do you think it's changing?
No.
I think from the top, it's starting to change.
David, tell yourself.
I'll start by saying I used to be a Seventh-day Adventist, so I'm a visitor, but I grew up in the church. I think it's hard for adults in general to speak to younger individuals, especially when it comes on to dating and things that they think are adult conversations. There's a restraint in how you want to approach it and things that you want to talk about with young people, because there is this feeling that if I open the door, then everyone's going to run through it. But what you don't know can hurt you. And it is better to know and have an educated view of that process than to say, I hope they're going to find out that this is this, or I hope I'm going to find out this is that. I was one of those children who had the benefit of a mother who told her just about everything when they were younger. And that, I saw a lot of my friends going to certain pitfalls that I never got into because I knew, whether it was on a scientific level or it was just on a conversational level, the fact that I was able to talk to my parents or an adult openly, without judgment, without ever having a conversation of being stopped or interjected and say, you this or you that, no pointing fingers, just, hey, you can tell me what you need to tell me, and I'm going to let my experience speak for itself. So I think it's not really so much just a Seventh-day Adventist or religious thing. I think it's just a divide between adults and children, and having that comfort level to know that, hey, one day these individuals are going to be me and you. They're young now, but they're going to be me and you. So if I give them this education, trust me, it's not going anywhere when they get older. So.
Like the other day was saying, I think it's a lot easier to reach adults or to have programs catered to adults, because like an adult would be more comfortable in a regular church, traditional church setting, but a youth or a young adult like me, we need more, you know, like, like for me, what attracted me to this church was the praise and worship, and that's what spoke to me. But for an adult, you know, I can't really generalize, it's hard to generalize, but I feel like most adults would be comfortable with a sermon, you know, a sermon, regular music and stuff like that, and go home and be blessed. But for us, or for young adults, we need something more, or on our, you know, something to keep our attention more or better. And I just feel like our mindset is that, you know, either we're comfortable with, you know, how we are, how the church is, and, you know, overall we're reaching, you know, the majority.
What you can contribute.
Huh?
And what you can contribute, because you could contribute a lot with your music.
Hmm?
And what you can contribute to the church, because you have contributed through your singing.
Yeah, and that's what, for me, I love praise and worship, and that's just kind of like, not keeping me in the church, because it's not like I'm gonna leave, but that's what's, you know, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, but
It makes a good point though, because I think youth have to feel like, first that they're welcome, that their volatile behavior with hormones isn't going to be rejected like at first glance, because we're still like growing, you know, regardless of the age, and that we're gonna contribute something. Like she was saying, we have to feel like we have a niche, we have a place, and that other people around us are going to benefit from it. We don't want to be the kid that's just listening to the sermon and it's being drilled into our heads, but it's not really being taken in. So.
Yeah, I really don't know how it works, but I think maybe the one person is from year 1 to 100 has to do with a lot of how the message is received, or what activities that will help them in accepting Christ. For me, it was different. From the time I can remember that I can have an interaction with the world, you know, me, I was on a quest to know what it's all about. You know, me being alive and looking around and looking at the stars and things like that. And then I looked to the point that I decided to get baptized in the church. When was that? I got baptized in my 3rd year medical school. I think I was 23.
So you were the borderline of the people that would, and you said not going to change.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so from that, to me it wouldn't matter what's going on in the church, what activities they're doing or whatsoever. Because for me the experience was different. Now, you know, when I look at the church, I think church is a place that you go to have certain activities, like you go to a Y, or you go to a convention for sport, or you go to whatsoever, and there is an activity that is geared to do what is there. And then you get a group of people, and then different people will be there for different options and different reasons. You know, you may go to a football activities, and then you have in mind maybe there's going to be a young lady that you have seen before, and then you might be interested in that. But I think what is important really is really what's happening at home. You know, I think what's happening with the parents, you know, the interaction that exists between the parents and the kid, that's probably what's going to make the difference as to which kid is going to be primed to receive, you know, to receive God. Because if you have 200 people in the church and then there is one sermon, that sermon is going to be ranged from like, this is a waste of time, till there's a message for me. But it's the same message in the same sermon. And likewise, when Jesus was preaching on the mount, I mean, it was one sermon, but it was, you know, the people that were receiving it, it was totally different. It's just the example of the seed and things like that. So if somebody would ask me, you know, to put you know, what's happening in the church, how are you going to get the kids involved? But I have to realize that those kids, in order for them to get to the church, they have to be driven by the door to start. You know, you know, unless I can have direct access to their home, which would be in parentheses very suspicious, right? so I would think that, you know, you will have to work, you know, with the adults at least to convince them and impact on them that maybe when they're at home they have an incredible task, you know, to set the ground, to set the soil so that that seed can be released. I think it's incredible burden to.
David and Courtney, and we're running low on time, so it's probably the last two people. Now, before David speaks, so just to let people know, was it about this time last year that we went over to, yes.
Just about, yeah.
So she was a key member of this class. She was very vocal, and she decided that it was important in her heart to teach the youth. And you saw today, before getting baptized, I think another 5, second service. So you see the results of the sacrifice that she made, because she could have been here, but she felt that she was needed there elsewhere. So just preface that before he speaks.
Yeah, I think that came out of a meeting where I think that my wife kind of felt that there was maybe a need to try to reach the younger generation and work from a class standpoint of trying to encourage baptism and answer questions that they might have. And so I think she really enjoys doing that. And I think it's wonderful to see, younger generation giving their hearts to Jesus. And I was just going to comment that, I think it is easier for the church to, minister to adults, because I think it's easier to kind of have a broad-based message to that group, whether they're in their 30s or their 60s. But I think when it comes to the youth, I think the church tends to be overprotective of the youth, and we tend to demonize anything and everything that's not of the church. And so whether it's music or movies or, and then also I think the church, you've got the youth and teenagers who have, curiosity about all kinds of subjects, sex, opposite sex, all that. And we tend to have too simplistic and judgmental viewpoints, I think, about some of that. And I think that turns them off. I think also you look at the kids are getting a lot of different education in schools, science-related education, math-related education, and sometimes Christianity is a little bit antagonistic towards the sciences. And so I think that is, another way that we tend to disillusion our youth if we don't approach that correctly. Also, you look at the youth Sabbath school, and I'm not trying to just pick on this church, but the youth who come to the youth Sabbath school, if they don't know who's teaching next week, or the teacher shows up and isn't exactly sure what subject they're teaching, the youth realize that. I mean, if you don't come to teach them with your A game and a plan, they do kind of feel like second-rate church members. And so, I think those are things that we have to kind of work on to try to, increase the, engagement of our youth.
That is so true, because
I'll try to be quick. I have 2 points. One, I think to David's point, when I'm David number 3, and what I'm realizing here is that we felt like we were the rebels when we were young Adventists, and then we feel like now the church is at the right spot, and you are coming in and going, okay, now it's our turn, and we may need to change our views, and that's difficult for me because I still think I'm on the liberal side of church, but I may not be, and I may need to adjust my views as the church grows with you all.
That's a change.
Yeah, and so that's something I gained from this class. Something else I wanted to mention is Terry actually sent me an article. I'm experienced at home, but I think it's true for us as a church. We really just want people to conform. I mean, I really feel like Adventism in general, we don't focus on kids. We just want you to get in line. We want to teach you the things to do. We want to teach you the rules. You walk on the beach on Sabbath, you don't walk on the beach on Sabbath. And we want you to conform for the most part, and that may not be true for this class, and I realized I was doing it at home. I teach my kid the right things to do. You do these things, and yes, I'm trying to teach our relationship with God, but ultimately what comes out is the behavior. I'm teaching her behaviors. I'm raising a pagan child in a Christian home, and I'm having to think about what I'm going to do to truly show her that I have dependence on Christ, that there's a relationship, and that it's more than just act the right way, because I'm very strict at home. And I thought that has been the right way to be, and I think there's truth to that, but there's more to it, and I'm not sure I'm teaching for that. And I feel like that's true for us as a church as well. We're very focused on acting the right way, and what I dislike about, I love the Adventist church, what I dislike about the church, I am now doing to my child. And I'm having to think about that and think about how I'm going to change.
Okay, so we are low on time. I'm going to give her a bonus time for final comments. So for those who have not been to this class before, we give everybody an opportunity to make one final statement. But it needs to be a statement. It can't be additional questions. You cannot interact with other individuals in making a final comment. 30 seconds for each person. You don't have to speak if you choose not to. It's optional. And please do not what people tend to do is they want to keep on speaking and not look at me when I remind them. That they're done. No. It's 30 seconds. I'm also going to pass around the contact sheet. I did have errors in it, and people emailed me that I had errors. I'm aware that there's errors, and that's the reason why we're passing it around. Please update it with your contact information. If you would like to, you don't have to. And is there any other announcement? I think that's pretty much it. We'll start with Susan, so you have a minute. Everybody else has 38 seconds.
Okay, just want to reinforce what David said. Your wife did an excellent job with my daughter. She looks forward to coming to Sabbath school. The baptismal class is every Sabbath, and she learns a lot. So it depends on who is doing it. You have to have a passion or realize that, okay, this is something that I want to do, in order to reach that child. Because she did, so it's important that if you find yourself having a calling, then you can, go ahead and make it happen and reach someone.
You have more time? You good? Oh, I know I forgot something. Let's just introduce ourselves one final time. My name's Linda. Andrew.
Raphael.
She's Maria.
Maria.
Terry,
James. David.
David.
Dorothy,
Andrew.
Susan.
Jessica.
David. Dean and Lincoln on the camera.
Nan is our name.
Yeah. I told him that I think it gets lighter each week too, by the way. Andrew, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'd say that I agree and admire what, I agree with and admire what David number 3, well, really number 1, the original David's wife is doing. I think I got baptized right around age 11. And I think I got baptized back then based on the adult's message, which was fair. I couldn't wait for baptism to come because I didn't know when Jesus was coming. I didn't want to. That's why I got baptized. Did that stick or was that the right reason? I would say no. So if I knew, I had a bit of understanding of religion and Christianity outside of fear and fire and brimstone, I think that, I'm quite a bit different. So,
Dorothy, would you like to say something?
oh, I'm just say this, and you agree with me, but I think it's unfortunate but true. But I think the church as a whole, coming from the top until the bottom, focus on the adult because of financial reasons. I've heard that said, well, kids can't don't contribute to the budget. So they focus on where the money's coming from. But that's why I said I think that trend is changing because I've been reading a lot about the union, Southern Union. And now I'm going to put their focus on the youth. They're going to change that approach. And I think it's wonderful because they're not the children of tomorrow. We all influence them. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we can change. And you may not agree, you say you don't think it's changing, but I think it will change. The church has to change.
So I can't answer you. It's your statement. It's not for me to interrupt. Remind everyone 30 seconds. David.
I wanted to say that I agree. I think that for kids, you have to raise them up with, obviously with rules, but just say around middle school or something like that, it has to make more of a transition of showing the relationship of why you're actually doing it. Because what you're gonna have is a kid believing the only reason why I'm doing this is because you said so. And it's not so much a relationship at all, it's just rules, and when they realize that they don't have to do that, that's when they just branch out and do their own thing, as opposed to grooming them in the life, in the mindset versus just oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. You have to, after they get to a certain age, you have to learn how to show them why they're actually doing it.
David.
For me, my only thing is, and I agree with most things that were said. Just we spend a lot of time talking about what we're not doing and what church is doing wrong. But for me, to be able to reach the youth, or for the youth to be able to, youth or young adults to feel welcome, or, you know, feel like they're cared for. We, as in the church, we just need to support them in whatever event they're doing, whatever program they're doing. We need to show up as a church and show them that, you know, that we care. And a big indicator of that, even speaking about this church, is AY. And I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes, but, you know, I try to come out, you know, that you have it, but the AY programs we put on and stuff like that, it'll just be us. And which is not good. It's not good.
You're right. You need the support of the whole church body.
Just a reminder, people, good points, everyone, but 30 seconds. James.
Nothing.
Nothing.
What is it? What are we talking about?
You want me to come back to you?
Is it final comment?
This is final comments.
We're so glad you can join us.
Oh yeah, it's that time.
Wow. Only thing I could say is God has called us to disciple, and He needs everybody. He needs our children. That's my primary role now as a dad at the stage that I am in life, is to disciple my kids. And as we go on, we just need to humble ourselves so that we can really do true discipling. Yourself is not the focus. Others are. Others is the focus.
Terry.
Raising a child who's actually not 21, I made my share of mistakes throughout the years, and it goes back to the article that I sent to Courtney. I always tried to get him to conform because I thought this is the way we should do it. And again, found my share of mistakes, but the most important thing I found I could do with my son Tyler is I pray with him and I pray for him. Because he's now at a point in his life, he's in college, not in church today. I can't make a judgment as to what he's doing today. I just need to pray for him and pray with him. I think that Albert and I have done the best we can with the circumstances we've had in our lives in trying to mold Tyler. And the rest now, he has that foundation in God, and I believe that with all my heart. And I will continue to pray for him and pray with him.
Courtney, you okay? Thank you. Jennifer? Yes. Nada? Maria? No? Maria?
I believe that we as an adult can influence the children with passion. When we have a passion for something. I even still remember my teacher in 3rd grade and the teacher in 4th grade that had a passion for literature and the other one for English. You know, we can transmit that influence to our children with a passion for something. If we have a teacher in a church that has a passion, like we had Miss Elena here, she had a passion for teaching the children the Bible through games. That was an excellent experience for us as parents, for our children. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. You have to go over every once in a while. Everybody's been doing that. Raphael.
Well, just 2 quick things. Before we came to this church and the other church we were going, the last children's story that we heard, an alligator ate the kids that disobeyed and went to the river on the Sabbath. The alligator ate them. That was the children's story. The other thing is that don't count. The other thing
Give him 10 more seconds.
I'm freezing it. I'm freezing it. Let the laughs out. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So that's maybe one of the reasons that, okay. So we have to remove that alligator. Now, the other point is, we can start counting now. I really, despite everything that has been said here, because I like to look at scripture, I don't see the churching of children in the New Testament. It is geared to the adult, except for maybe that Christ was very knowledgeable when he was 13, well, but he was Christ. And then let the children come to me. They were horsing around because the apostles wanted to, push them away. So they weren't coming for doctrine or anything. They were just being playful
and children. So I don't know what that is all about. Church is for the adults.
You know why not?
Wow.
Oh, that's a heavy statement.
Angelo?
Okay.
No? You good? Or no? You okay? Dylan, you wanna say something? Okay.
Just quickly, I think the focus for the church is on children as well as adults, but there's not enough focus on the children. Each of us in this room, if you can think back to if you were grown up in the church, there must be a time in your life that you can remember someone leading you to Christ or telling you about Christ. And we see today in the baptism where 4 wonderful souls came to Christ. It's because of Sabbath school, it's because of them reading their quarterly, reading their Bible, but it starts at home. If we are living that life, it is said that children live what they learn or what they see. We as parents has to start that at home, build that foundation for them to follow. But we can't be telling them don't do this and yet we're turning around and doing it. As well as he said it, I mean, you're telling them what to do, but you're not telling them why they should do it or shouldn't do it. We have to sit them down and talk to them and show them that this is the right path to be on and the reasons for it. So I believe, and then again too, there are times when we try to lead them to Christ, and when they're ready for baptism, we're telling them, okay, you're too young. I mean, you're confusing them. So the focus is there, but there's not enough focus on it.
Remind everyone, 30 seconds. Nothing in particular, because everybody on the line's going away with it. 30 seconds.
She's a visitor, so she...
Yeah, well, that's why I wasn't rude with her.
She took his time.
Yes. Would you like, you're good?
Yes.
Dean.
Okay, Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." So he emphasized that children are our future. I was just always pay special attention to them because they need our attention. It says, "These words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be a frontlet between your eyes." That's it.
Just to paraphrase a verse in the Bible, I think Jesus said, "Unless you have faith like a child, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven." So I think that there's a lot of need from children and youth. I think that in question 2, the bizarre fashions, unusual musical tastes, and outlandish behavior, who cares? I mean, in reality, the teens in this church and other churches, they just need to be engaged in some ways by us. It can simply mean just learning their name. "Hi, John. How are you doing today?" I mean, I think just engaging them is one way to show energy and make the church more attractive.
Well, they say like a child is like a mattress with springs in it. So when you keep holding them down with the rules and everything, and you keep holding them down, when they finally get free, like to go to college or go off on their own or whatever, it's like you let go and they just go off, on a tangent or whatever, doing their own thing or whatever they can't be. I was like that. I couldn't wait. Because all I saw were rules and everything, and you can't do this and you can't do that and whatever, and I was thinking of all the things I'm gonna do when I'm free and when I'm on my own. But, huh?
Like go for 30 seconds because then there's something.
He's trying to hold you down.
Yeah,
it's rules again.
Yeah, rules.
The rule is back.
He went for like 3 minutes. 3 minutes, Lyndon. The entire time you were out.
When I have to go out, Damaris is using my police cop, but she's not here.
Oh, she was good.
Oh, okay. Maybe you missed me then. So did you speak?
No.
Go ahead.
So parenting is definitely the number one determinant of success, and I know that my parents, even though they didn't talk to me very particularly about things in life, they did tell me from experience what they did and what the church says to do. So I learned both from their example as well as their hypocritical actions. I think that made me fare well. And at church, I cannot believe, I would not be able to believe that the church is only for adults. I don't believe that at all. But I do think that we should focus on the children a lot more, and I think it needs to happen before the older generation dies out, because if not, we are all Very well. It's a generational like learning, and we need the older people to go down and teach us the way to do it so we can go up, but they can't be not open to new things and ask us. Don't pressure me. If JC is doing something, not to attack us and say that these are the rules, this is how you do it. Just ask, hey, so why do you choose to do it that way? I think that's a lot more a stimulant of
I'm not as hard as he is. You're lucky. Do you want to say something now?
Me?
Did you did? Oh, you spoke already. Okay, I thought you.
Yeah, I could say.
No. Lincoln is mute while he's on the camera. Did anybody get skipped up? Change your mind and want to speak now? No. Someone else? Everybody's good. Okay. I think I can boil this down to 2 words. Fear of the unknown and fear of rejection. When you try things, you can fail. And the chances of failure when dealing with youth is probably a lot higher when it is with dealing with adults. But I think long term, there was a study done, and this I think was a couple generations back, where they attended church when they were youth, they left, and then they came back in their 30s and 40s. To your point, I think there is a gap, and it does happen over and over and over, but I think the key part is that because it was built into them when they were young, they came back, and I'm over it. That's it. So, again, for
You know, you skipped me, right? I was being devastated to do that.
But it's okay.
Patrick is not here. Patrick is not here.
No, it's okay, it's okay. I was doing what she said.
You started. You got a whole extra 30 seconds. We've got all this time.
Yes, it is.
You got extra time.
Yes.
And
I quote, David, your wife did such a wonderful job with my daughter.
I thought she was being facetious.
I said, okay, this is for her, obviously.
Bring it back.
Okay.
Bring it back.
So, now we transition to prayer requests and answers to prayer.